What is the equivalent of hitting 394 over the course of a season in slow pitch softball?
Man, that's tough to say. That's tough to say. My first thought is to like double it, but then I think I don't think that's quite high enough. Man, I would almost think it's like a 900 maybe, because I don't know, with baseball. I mean, I know 394 is 39.5%, but 394 is, 400's almost flawless in baseball terms, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's kind of
the irony of saying that failing 6 out of 10 times.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it feels funny. Yeah, exactly. But it's, I don't know, 394 or like 400 just in general is such a monumental just task, especially over 162 games. It's crazy. Yeah. Again, my first thought is to double it, but I don't think that's quite enough. So I'm going to go with about 900. You got about 900. Again, be nearly flawless.
First instinct was 800 also, but the more you think about it, about how many people in the history of baseball have hit 400 over the course of a season. And the list is very small and
very small.
So 800 is like batting like 350, 370.
Yeah, 800 is
damn
great.
Good season.
800 is great. Don't get me wrong.
Probably one of the best hitters in the league, but are you one of the best hitters ever?
Ever, exactly.
Over the course of a season.
Yeah, because obviously 1,000's impossible, but I don't know. I feel like there's those guys that are just base hit specialists in softball, the really, really good ones, that could be 9 out of 10, or at least 9 out of 10 on base. Maybe it's not hits, maybe it's not average, maybe it's on base, but either way, I think 900 is probably that mark, because 400 is something you have to really chase. And I feel like if you're really good, you can hit 800, but you got to chase 900, So, I don't know. There's absolutely zero science behind this opinion that I have formed here. However,
honestly, there's probably zero science behind most of our opinions, but
yeah, that's a good point. So I guess it's just as good as any other opinion that we've had to this point. So whatever.
So should we get into the weekend roundup?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the weekend. So let's start with the bad news and work towards the good news. So the bad news is that our tournament didn't go great.
We're skipping Friday altogether. Was it that bad?
Sorry.
Friday?
I forgot about Friday. Go with Friday. Start with Friday. Sorry. I forgot when we recorded.
Friday night, we played in the semifinals of the Double D playoffs. Double D being the more competitive version of single and double wall, aka non-composite bats.
Metal bats.
We offensively did not come out with a good showing collectively as a team. I think I went 2 for 4, and I didn't feel great at the plate.
I don't remember what I did. But
do you remember what your stats were?
I wrote them down. I did. I was
Stat king.
I was 1 for 3 with just a single. No good. No good at all.
Yeah. Collectively, we could not string hits together. Defense was pretty good. Their pitcher came out and he definitely abused the height limit, to say the least.
He did.
Got people uncomfortable at the plate, and we got that. He'd get that first strike very, very religiously, and then he would just start throwing all the junk that you didn't want to be swinging at, but it was close enough that you had to swing at.
Yeah.
So
you
got to tip your cap to them. One of our buddies, Carlos, was on the other team, made a diving stop.
Killer snag.
Took the wind out of any sails that we had.
Killer snag, yeah.
Their defense was very, very on point on Friday, and unfortunately we took the loss.
Yeah, I mean, really though, it was just about scoring, because it was 8-4. I mean, right? I think they only scored 8 or something like that.
It was not a high scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, if you only allow 8 runs, you shouldn't lose that game in softball, but We only scored 4, so
You got to score more
if
than
you
the other
only
team
allow
to win.
4, you definitely shouldn't lose. So I guess it makes sense that they won. But
Right.
yeah, it wasn't great. We didn't really have much to. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot positive to report. There wasn't even a whole lot of like crazy awesome defense on our side. I don't think it just was. Our defense was good. You know, we made all the plays we were supposed to, but I don't think there was anything really lights out that anybody did except for maybe that one play by Carlos. I don't think anybody did anything crazy, even on the other team. So
Yeah.
it
I mean,
just
for
goes
whatever
that way.
consolation it's worth, they did go on to take the championship.
Yeah,
We did
yeah.
lose to the eventual champions, but that doesn't exactly make you feel any better when you get home and you took an L on the day.
Yeah, but it does make me feel a minor amount better when you lose to the champion and not to the runner-up. I don't.
Fair.
It's probably not a good thing to hang your hat on, but it makes me feel
I'd rather
mildly
lose to
better.
the champion in the championship game.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then you get that red T-shirt this year.
Yeah. Other than that, not a whole heck of a lot to report. We can get
No.
on to Saturday, which also was not a great day in the
No, not great.
results column.
Yeah, yeah. We played 4 games, won 1 out of 4. Not great. I mean, I would argue it was the hitting again. I mean, our defense was suspect at times too, and I mean, we were all part of that for sure. I know I had a few plays I should have made that I didn't. I know you had some you wish you could take back. Pretty much everybody had some they wish they could take back, I think, save for maybe a few guys. I think Maddie, the pitcher, did a fantastic job. I think he did great. He actually did really well at the plate too. I have no idea what his numbers were, but I know he hit a couple extra base hits and he was on more than he wasn't, if I remember correctly.
He might have been the best hitter on the day, to be honest.
He might have been, honestly. Actually, I don't know. Carlos again, same Carlos. He had 2 triples at least. And I can't remember. The triples were very exciting, so I remember those specifically. But yeah, what's weird is that I had a pretty decent day individually, but so we played 4 games. The 3 games we lost, I did well, and the 1 game we won, I did horribly, which is weird. And I know you kind of started off cold and then got hotter at the end. So
I don't think it had anything to do with it, but I'm pretty sure running into the outfield fence doesn't help your statistics and your swing.
This guy's leg's black and blue right now. He showed it to me yesterday.
Yeah,
He's
it's
all
not
scraped
great.
up. He's all scraped
The
up.
fields we played at had a very short warning track, and I was not getting any help from the other fielders about when the fence was
It was
approaching.
like, what, maybe 3 foot warning track? It was basically by the
Maybe.
time you had a foot in it, you were at the fence. So there was no time to react really. But yeah,
I don't
mean,
think that our defense cost us any of the games at the end of the day, even though we were
No.
somewhat suspect.
I think if we would have hit better, our defense probably would have cost us some games.
Sure.
I felt like we had, again, infielders and outfielders were just as guilty of this. Infield, we definitely left some. Well, we can talk about that too. I played third base. Jason actually played left field, which he's usually center field. So he was a little bit out of position from what he's used to as well. But anyway, infield, we definitely let some through that shouldn't have. Definitely had some guys kind of ole, bullfighting some of those balls that they probably just should have stayed in front of. Outfield had some that just got away from them a little bit. I think everybody had a mistake here or there. Not all of them too costly, but they were there.
It was a tough day. It was hot. It was pushing 100
very
degrees.
hot. Very hot.
Our pitcher toughed through 4 games wearing a full-on catcher's
Full
gear
gear.
at the mound. I can't imagine how he was able to do that and still hit as well as he did, but he definitely was fatigued come into the day. But I don't think that really impacted his pitching.
No, honestly, I mean, if I had to give an MVP to our 1-3 team, I would have given him the MVP. Nobody's giving out MVPs for 1-3 teams, but if we had to, I think he was the MVP on the day for sure. I don't think anybody would question that. So,
did you find yourself stepping in, having played ASA or USA softball the night before? Did you find yourself able to quickly acclimate to the differences between the 2 games?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just because, I'd played U-Trip not long ago. month, whatever it was. And so when I played that last tournament a month ago, it'd been a couple of years since I played U-Trip. So that whole first game was an adjustment in that first tournament. But then last weekend's tournament, I kind of you didn't have to knock the cobwebs off quite as much. It was more mentally, you knew what you were going to see. So it wasn't so bad. Yeah, I think, it was fine for this time around. We only got, at least I think I only got 2 at bats that first game this time around, which kind of sucked. Again, we got kind of blown up that first game, but this team always starts slow. Like, even I know the last one I was at, we played in the championship game, happened to lose the championship game, but we got beat up our first game, and then once we got going, we were good to go. It just, for whatever reason, we don't start fast, which probably be a good thing to change, a good thing to work on. But
starting fast, and we're talking about at the plate. Typically, we're one of the better defensive teams out there, but even that just didn't come to play at the beginning of the tournament.
No, not really. I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, do you have any takeaways from, as far as the day, like for your own individual performance? Like, I don't know if you do this or not. I do it all the time, and maybe I shouldn't, but I feel like it helps. So I always will sit down, look at my stats, or think back on the day, and I'll kind of go over stuff in my head and be like, here was definitely a mistake there. Here was a thing I should have done. Here's what I did well. I kind of just summarize it myself and kind of figure that out. Did you think about anything? Did you takeaways, anything like that?
I think the thing that I look back on and think that helped me stay in it was I had really good plate discipline the whole weekend.
A lot of walks.
Yeah, I walked 5 times in 4 games. I think that really allowed me to still contribute when in the first 2 games, I think I went a collective 0 for 3 or 0 for 3 sounds right. 0 for 1 with a walk, and then 0 for 2 with 2 walks.
But we're on base a few times.
So that helped me. Yeah, helped me contribute, even though I wasn't really swinging it. But by the time the 3rd game rolled around, I started to kind of piece it together a little bit. And then in the 4th game, I think I went 3 for 4 with a walk. So I actually started to kind of really get it going.
Yeah.
3rd game, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good game there.
It took me a while, but I finally got it going. But really, it was just kind of acclimating to, I think the rules were 3 to 10 feet. And so the first couple of games, we were getting a lot of those lower pitches that I just didn't really figure it out for the first game or 2, and that kind of negatively impacted my stat line.
Yeah, and I think too, again, when you're not quite used to the pitching and you end up taking a strike that is not a pitch you're looking to hit anyway, so you end up taking a lot more of those strikes that you're not looking to hit, and then you're forced to swing at something you're not really interested in. So that probably contributed. I would imagine.
Sure.
Just getting behind an account because you don't like the pitch that you saw that was the strike. So, and, hats off to the pitchers. I don't
want to say it was the umpire, but the umpire we had the last 2 games was somebody that we had seen at other tournaments and we were very comfortable with. And you could make an inference that having somebody behind the plate that's going to give you the consistent strike zone that we had kind of helped you be more comfortable up there too. Yeah,
it's possible. I don't think I paid enough attention to what was being called strikes and balls in the first 2 games to really be able to say. But I think I have a bit, and I probably need to tailor this back, but I have a bit more of an aggressive attitude when I get up there, which I probably shouldn't, but so I'm just kind of going after it. I rarely think about, is this pitch a ball, is this pitch a strike, unless I have, and even then I don't even think about it when I have a strike on me. I often am just looking for a pitch to hit, and then if it so happens that I have a strike, I just have to be less choosy, So, again, I don't know if that helps or hurts me, but it may have helped me in the, if you're not getting quite as a consistent call from umps sometimes, I'm just looking for a pitch to hit, and then when I have a strike, I'm like, hell, I got to hit everything now, just find a spot and put it out there. So
I think what has helped me a lot is having that really good command of the strike zone.
Yep.
And I can go up there looking for a specific pitch to hit.
Yep.
And I can be a lot more selective and still feel comfortable if I have a strike on me to know what's a ball and what's a strike.
Yeah.
So I still can live within the bounds of the strike zone with, maybe like a 10% increase at the edges, but having that command allows me to get to that 2-strike count and not really feel like I'm changing a whole lot.
Yeah.
Other than that inside pitch that I might not want because I don't want to pull the ball,
Yeah.
I now have to swing at, but you can still differentiate that inside pitch being a ball or a strike and then making a good swing on it as opposed to a kind of a protect swing. And I know that happened to you, and I think that very last game, you had an inside pitch that you took was a strike, and then he came in even further inside. And
I
at
had
that
to
point, you're like,
protect.
I had to protect.
Yeah. Didn't really hit it where I wanted to, but I hit it at least. I think I got on base for that one, but that was one where I kind of hit a lazy pop. I think that was the one where I hit the lazy pop fly that just happened to land between the infield and the outfield. So I got on base for it, but again, it was not pretty. But you take the wins with the losses sometimes there too. So
the more I reflect on that team just in general, you've played 2 tournaments with that team. I've played 3.
Yeah.
There's always about 3 or 4 guys at the bottom of the roster, and not to say at the bottom of the roster and that they're the worst guys. It's just they're the bottom of the roster and that we're filling the roster with 3 or 4 guys that are different on a week in and week out basis.
Yeah.
And from a defensive perspective, I think that impacted us.
Yeah.
Just we had the center fielder that we put in there, and it didn't seem like everybody was comfortable where they were in the field, and so
he's a good player, but it just we weren't quite all meshing together. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, moving people around to try to find the best fit, and it just didn't feel like the team ever hit a groove.
Yeah.
For the entirety of a game. In that third game when we really hit a groove and batted around, we felt good at the plate, but I don't know that we ever found that groove where we were just locked in on defense.
No, I don't think we did. We did make some good plays. There was a couple of double plays that got turned, which were nice, and there's a couple pretty good grabs in the outfield where you guys had to cover some ground to get there, but yeah, it was still hit or miss. Like, I don't know. I'm certainly not the only one that feels this way, but sometimes when you're playing with a team and you're confident in who's out in the field and where they're at and how everybody's playing, or you just know them or whatever, it's the difference between, they hit a ball to so-and-so, that's an out, And then on a team like this, which again, has anything to do with the team, but it's more of, we're not really comfortable with each other. We don't really know each other super well yet. We're still relatively all new to each other. But every time a ball's hit, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like you don't have this. There's a 95% chance that guy catches that ball. It's like everything that goes in the air on the ground to anybody, it's 50-50 because you just don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with just the mental state of how you play the game too. Subconsciously, but it may. So
I noticed a few times being a left fielder and not knowing the center fielder very well, that I would look up at a ball that was, in my estimation, a ground ball closer to the center fielder, and I would look up and he hadn't moved.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I got to go get that now.
Yeah.
And it was a situation where, not having played beside them before, not knowing whose ball it was, and in this case, at the end of a long, tiring day in the heat, neither of us moved, and it was a problem.
Yeah.
And it probably gave up an extra base.
Right.
The other thing I think about is knowing what you can and can't get to, and knowing what your other outfielders can and can't get to, or
that's a big
their ability or, habits of backing up or lack thereof allows you to either be more or less aggressive on a ball. And I think we probably lost out on some plays that could have been game-changing fielded plays in the outfield because we didn't have that inherent knowledge that this guy's always got my back no matter what. I can be more aggressive and try to get this, and if it gets by me, we're still covered. I don't know that we had that, and I think it led to a lot of stuff getting in front of us that probably could have been played. Because we just didn't know whether or not anybody was there to cover us in the event of something not being caught on the fly.
Yeah, and I feel like a little bit of that too was, I don't know. I felt like there was, because I know I've run into this, not so much in like tournaments and higher level of play, but especially in our meetup group when I play some outfield, because I'm usually bigger than most of the outfield. You know, I'm anywhere from 210 to 220 depending on the day, basically. And a lot of our other outfielders are 175, 185, you know, much faster on their feet. And especially when you're not used to playing to the person beside you, if you're the little guy, which I think in this case, I don't know how much, but I would imagine the center fielder had 50 pounds on you. Like, he was a linebacker. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he was a built
He's
dude.
a beast. Yeah. And so I gotta imagine, especially when you don't know that fielder super well yet, that you're a little hesitant. You're not fully aggressive going to a ball in between because you don't want to get just waylaid. And I'm sure I know from the other side of that, you know, I sometimes don't go full hard the other direction unless I'm yelling, I got it super loud, because I don't want to lay a guy out, you know. I don't want to lay a guy out that's 165 pounds either. So I have a feeling that sometimes, you know, whether it's just communication or whether it's just not knowing each other, it feels like sometimes that falls into play in the outfield too, especially on those balls in between, in the air at least. Because, yeah, the last thing you want is to get just sideswiped by a guy 50 pounds heavier than you. So, you know.
I know we talked about this, but I'd love to get your formal opinion on it now that it's been able to kind of marinate in your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
In the first game, the person that we had starting in right field got a single in the first inning.
Yep.
There's 2 outs.
Yep.
He knows he's injured and can't run.
Yep.
Doesn't ask for a pinch runner.
Yeah.
You proceed to hit a ball to the wall.
Yeah.
But because he didn't run with 2 outs, he doesn't get past third.
Right. He gets the third.
Ends up not scoring.
Yeah.
Me being the third base coach, I'm hollering at him to get a 2-out jump, and he's kind of just hobbling.
Yeah. I don't know. Part of me thinks it was first game of the day, and I wonder if, I don't know. I always feel more invincible first game of the day. You know what I mean? I always feel like I can do anything because I'm not tired yet. But yeah, I mean, we have an available runner. You know, you get one or courtesy runner, I guess they call it. You get one courtesy runner per inning. We hadn't used it yet, I don't think.
We hadn't, and the person that we would normally use it for was at least 5 batters away.
Right. And so, yeah, I feel like we should have just forced it. We should have been like, no, dude, sit down. Like, you got on base, you did what we needed you to do, great, you know. But I mean, this is a guy that was, you know, he was injured enough that he wasn't even able to continue the rest of the tournament. So I mean, you know, I feel bad. You don't want a guy to be injured, but at a certain point too, you got to kind of know. Again, it goes back a little bit to knowing yourself. Of, I know I'm not there right now, and I mean, we'll touch on that here in the next games we talk about, whether, you know, you get a tweak and you have to think to yourself, even if I can run, am I a liability because I'm slow now, or am I going to hurt it further and then be out for 6 weeks? Or, you know, so it's not always easy to make that decision, but I think 1, he should have probably said, let me use the runner, and 2, I think we should have pressed it. I think we should have, you know, no, you're taking the runner.
I don't want to say luckily, because we ended up getting run ruled by 10, but luckily that 1 run didn't have a material impact on the game. But in the first inning, you don't know whether or not 1 run is going to be the difference between winning and not winning. And to watch us just lose a run outright on somebody's, you know, I don't want to say that it was pride, but like, if you know you're injured and can't run full speed, like,
let somebody know, man. Let us know.
and if I recall correctly, there was also a play that he didn't get to in front of him in right field in one of the first 2 innings because he was injured and not going full speed, that probably should have been made an out as well. Right.
But we adjusted after that. Once captain saw that he was not able to move, he said, okay, we got a new right fielder now. So we made the adjustments. It just didn't save us that run or that out, that's for sure. So
yeah, hard to quantify at that point in time.
I know, right?
Impact, especially when it's lack thereof. But
when you 10 run rule, you know, when you get run ruled too, it's hard to justify, or it's hard to really say much about any single play. If you
Mm-hmm.
lose by 1, that makes a difference. Or if they score the winning run with 2 outs and you didn't make that 3rd out on something you should have, then that makes a difference. But
It's
it's
a lot
also
more. It's a lot murkier to try to make a direct correlation. It's hard to say what plays happened specifically after that because of that event.
yeah.
Did the
Well,
pitcher start throwing middle away as opposed to middle in with, runners on first and second trying to get a ground ball? Like those are things that are super situational that you can never really quantify,
yeah,
but
yeah. There's not enough
those are the
stats
things
to
that I
tell
think
us
about.
to tell us what happens there. Yeah. One other thing I kind of wanted to talk about, only because I was looking at this, and I've noticed this for myself. This is more of general, but general about my batting that I notice, and I just curious about your opinion on this, because I don't think this happens to you, because you are far more consistent than I am, as far as like on base and stuff like that. I noticed this in our meetup group. I've noticed this in league forever, but it really was in both tournaments I've played here in UTrip. It's been the thing is that, right now my overall on base for the 2 tournaments, so 8 total games, is 567.
Mm-hmm.
Not where I want to be. I want to be more like 650. But it's the same as it is any other time. So, as an example, I will always have a bunch of great games and then one really terrible game. And so I'm never like, you can't count on me to bat 567 every game. You'll count on me to bat 750 3 or 4 games and then go 200 for 1 game. Like, I don't know why it works that way, but just as an example. So because I was looking at this trying to figure it out earlier. So the first tournament I played in, overall on base was 563. But I had 1 game where I went 0 for 3. So if you take out the 0 for 3 game and you add in the 3 additional games, I was a 700 on base with 1,000 slugging. I'm happy with that day, but you throw in that 0 for 3 day and then it throws the stats out. So
give us all a total of those 8 games.
Yes.
How many times did you take a walk?
Do you really want to know? Twice.
I'm guessing
in 8
it's
games.
less than
Twice in 8 games.
And I think that's where it comes.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
If you look at your first 2 games and my first 2 games,
Yeah.
they were very different.
Yeah.
The only thing that kept me anywhere in the realm of having a respectable day was I was able to work a walk each of the 2 games.
Right.
So that when I did turn it on, I wasn't sitting there on goose eggs.
Yep.
And so I think that's really the only difference, is that even if I take an offer in a game, I still find a way to get on base.
Get on once or twice. Yeah.
And that 1 for 3 as far as like plate appearances goes is a lot kinder to the total than an 0 for 2.
Yeah. You set a higher floor. So
Yeah.
it might be a similar ceiling, but with a higher floor, and therefore overall better. So
Yeah. Honestly, that would be the only thing I would mention, because
yeah,
if I was to
right.
think of my 4 days, my 4 games on Saturday, it was 0 for 2 with a walk, 0 for 1 with a walk, and then it was 3 for 4 with a walk and 2 for 3 with a walk.
Yeah.
Or something like that. One of those games I had 2.
Yeah.
And so I still started the day off like 0 for 4.
Right.
But I had 3 walks to go along with it.
Right.
And so it made it less of an exaggerated swing back to the mean when I started hitting.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because it was the same case in our tournament this time. 571 overall, but if you take out the 3rd game, which I hit 1 for 4 with a sac fly for 5 plate appearances, So if you take that game out, I was on base 778 with a 1375 slugging. Like, that's over 2,000 OPS or OBPS. So again, I'd be super happy with that. But
here's my actual 0 for 2 with a walk, 0 for 2 with 2 walks, 3 for 4 with a triple, and a walk, and then I had 1 for 2 with a walk.
Yeah.
So essentially, from an on base perspective, it was 333, 500, 800, and then 667, which averaged out to, I think, 600 on the day.
Yeah. So yeah, it's. I don't know. I noticed that about myself because it's the same thing in our meetup group. You know, my overall is on base 650-ish, but if you look at it, 3 out of 4 games or 4 out of 5 games, I'll bat 750, and then I'll have one game where I go 0 for something or 1 for 5, and I don't know. It's really strange. So, you know,
it's an interesting discussion about pitching strategy, and obviously neither of us is a pitcher.
Yeah.
But me batting third versus you batting fifth, I think you were.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm less likely to get pitches. And
yeah, I would think so.
So that could factor into it. And I am more of the, you know, next man up kind of thing, in the sense that, you know, one of the guys on our team says, nobody better behind you. And so I'll embrace a walk as a single mentality, and I'll just be like, I'm going to get on base because we need to keep the line moving, and you know, we need to keep things going and getting base runners, and that's the best way I can help the team.
Yeah.
You know, whereas you in the 5-hole, they may be a little bit more readily able to attack you on the corners as opposed to trying to be as delicate, and that could factor into it. I don't know.
Fifth is a weird spot sometimes because I feel like 5 and 6, I would say, because I feel like sometimes you hide there a little bit. They kind of say, this guy's not the 4 batter. Depending on who you have on your team, you could logically say, okay, 4 batter is obviously like the power guy, but if you don't have a lot of power on your team, the number 5 batter might not be a power guy at all, you know, but it could be. So it's sometimes I can hide there a little bit and catch off, you know, outfields off guard a little bit, but hard to say. It all depends. These are all things I don't think about during the game, then I think about afterwards. It may have no actual bearing on anything, but I think about them after the fact. So I don't know.
Do you have any other thoughts about Saturday, or should we move on to the actual positive news that we have?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty much what it was. It was hot. We played pretty hard for the Heat. Just didn't win a lot of games and still had some fun. So that's that.
We didn't get last.
We did not. We were tied in the 9th spot out of 15 or something. 16, yeah. 16
or 18.
Not great, not awful.
We won a game that matters. We won our first elimination game, which was the most important thing.
Yeah, and I don't remember. Some of the teams I think the teams that were below us, like, lost to some of the teams, like, worse than we did or something like that. So I don't know how the points actually worked, but we ended up kind of middle of the pack, which, you know, it was technically a nationals competition, so I feel like the competition was probably a little better than some of the other tournaments we'd been to. Not to use that as an excuse, but you don't feel quite as bad being middle of the road in a high competitive thing than if you're just kind of in a backyard one.
If we play more consistently as a team, I got to think that we'll just grow naturally into a better team.
I would think so. And again, really kind of figure out the lineup, figure out the defensive positioning, figure out your regulars, figure out. I think right now there's really only maybe 5 guys or so, 6 maybe, that are regulars. And then it's kind of the rest are fill-ins, you know, and a lot of times we bat 11 or 12 sometimes. So, I mean, you just don't know. You know, when you're filling in half the team, it's hard, but you fill in until you find regulars. That's how it works, you know? So
yeah,
just got to do what we got to do, I guess. We're not in charge of that part. We can only influence from the outside. Thank you for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it. Depending on what platform you're watching us on, like, subscribe, leave us a comment. Anything you can do to let us know that you like what we're doing here. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.